In American folklore, we have a man named John Henry. He's an American folk hero because when the greedy businesses were trying to drive everybody out of work and use their machines to automate their work for them, he stood up and showed them that the unbreakable human spirit was so much and so overwhelming that it genuinely broke the machine. But we're way past those times today, and I bring that story to talk about Merab. When we look at Merab versus Piotr Jan, even though Merab's nickname is the Machine, Merab is not the Machine. No. Piotr Jan is the Machine. Merab, he is the human. He is the John Henry. He is the face of the unbreakable human spirit and the will to keep going. Merab Dvalishvili refuses to be denied. And I'm not clickbaiting you when I say I do not believe that Merab is not dominant. I do not believe that his run was dominant. I do not believe that his reign was necessarily dominant. I believe that Merab is something much, much more impressive than being dominant. And that is resilience. I believe Merab Dvalishvili is one of the most impressive fighters we've ever seen because he is resilient. We can take this all the way back to where the run really started getting legendary. UFC 266, Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. On the undercard, Merab fought this man named Marlon Moraes. Marlon Moraes at one point in time was seen as a demolition man in this weight class. He's the guy who was running through everybody, was supposed to be the champion. He lost to Cejudo, but he was still viewed as very, very dangerous at this point in time. And this just leads to my argument of Merab not being dominant, but being resilient. In the beginning of this fight, Merab was being humiliated on the feet. Truly outgunned. Couldn't get a takedown. And was almost got put out cold. Was completely unconscious on his feet. And willed himself to keep going. Willed himself to stay with it. And continue to throw punch after punch after punch after punch after punch. And eventually, Marlon Moraes broke. Even though there was an argument that any other ref might have stepped in and stopped Moraes from bashing in Merab's face, because Merab was able to stick with it, and that ref was kind of questionable, Merab continued to pour on the pressure and landed over 110 unanswered strikes before the ref stepped in and called it a TKO win for Merab Dvalishvili. That leads Merab to his next fight against Jose Aldo. When he fought Jose Aldo, again, this is a story of resilience. Jose Aldo absolutely humiliated Merab Dvalishvili on the feet. He couldn't get a single takedown and was being outstruck, but he continued to press forward at high altitude, put a pace and a cardio on Aldo that saw Aldo not be able to break away from the clinch, not be able to have too much success on the feet, and for Merab to be outstriking Jose Aldo in between failing takedowns. Now, the Piotr Jan fight, the first fight, now we're in March of 2023. This fight is dominant. But my argument of his resilience still rings true. Because one thing I didn't mention is that Merab Dvalishvili is insane. He's legitimately insane. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. He shot 49 takedowns in that fight. He only got 11 of those takedowns that he shot on. And of the 11 takedowns he got, he only had 6.5 minutes of control time. It was actually a little less than that. That's averaging about 30-ish seconds of control time each and every time. Each and every time you get there, you're averaging 30-ish seconds of control time. All that energy you waste on shooting single legs and double legs because you expect to hold this person down against their will, and they pop right back up. And he continues to shoot the takedowns, knowing that he's going to fail more, but still acting surprised each and every time he fails a takedown. He put on one of the most insane performances against Petr Yan, because Yan could never get settled on the feet, because he was always defending takedowns. Because Petr Yan has elite takedown defense and good cardio, but Merab was just constantly shooting. So I'll give you guys, this is a dominant fight, but it showed Merab's resilience to continuously shoot takedowns. But this really leads us to the Henry Cejudo fight. Now, the fight with Henry Cejudo, Merab, for all intents and purposes, got put out cold on the feet. Like, damn near put out cold on the feet in round one. Got completely and totally out grappled in the entirety of round one. And it was humiliating. But he never stopped. Round two, the pace that Merab was fighting at was just too much for Cejudo. Cejudo starts to fatigue. Merab really starts to put it on. Round three, Cejudo is just a shell. This isn't the same guy who was schooling Merab. This is a guy who is a empty shell of himself because of his exhaustion. And Merab can continue to go. And the things that weren't working in round one, all of a sudden in round three, they're starting to work. He's picking up Cejudo and walking him across the cage, dumping him down. He's throwing all these strikes, and they're starting to land now when they weren't landing before. He's the one getting the better of these striking exchanges while Cejudo's on the defensive, not the other way around. And this is just Merab cementing himself as the top contender of that weight class, because he refused to change up the game plan or to quit on himself when things were looking bad, when he was getting genuinely humiliated by Henry Cejudo. And that's 4 fights in a row. I mean, that's 3 of his last 4 fights where he's getting genuinely humiliated in one aspect of the fight, where he's not getting much of success with his takedowns, where he's being outstruck, where he's getting rocked and wobbled on the feet. It doesn't matter. He just finds a way to continue to go and to continue to fight through it and to continue to find a way to win. And that is true resilience. You don't find that very often. In his title-winning performance against Sean O'Malley, he was able to have his way when he was able to have his way, but he had to navigate being on the feet. He changed up his fighting style for the first time in a while. We saw him genuinely fight off the back foot for a lot. But when he was able to get his takedowns, he held O'Malley down. I wouldn't call this a dominant performance. It was just a close and competitive fight. But the real resilience comes at the end of the fight. In round 5, Sean O'Malley lands a body kick that folds him in half. And for literally the rest of the fight, he has nothing left in him. He's just backpedaling, moving around, trying not to get finished, and doing everything he can to hang in there while being ready to get finished. While his body feels like it's shutting down because he just took a clean kick to the liver and it folded him in half. He's rubbing on his stomach like he's hurt, and he sticks around long enough to find a way to win. Heading into his first title defense against Umar Nurmagomedov, he was a massive underdog. I remember talking to my friend, shout out to MMA Mechanic, give him a follow on YouTube. He was telling me, yo, I can't see a way that Umar doesn't beat Merab, because Umar is better than Merab in every way, shape, and form. And that is true. When you look at Merab, you have a guy who is legitimately worse than all of his opponents when he's fighting them at one aspect of the game or many aspects of the game. But his cardio, his resilience is what is able to win him these fights. He doesn't have better striking than Petr Yan, than Henry Cejudo, than Sean O'Malley, than Marlon Moraes, than Umar. He doesn't have better grappling than Umar. He's not a better wrestler than Henry Cejudo. He showed that he's not a better grappler than Petr Yan or Jose Aldo. But it never deterred him from attempting to implement his game plan. And that was able to drain these people to the point of exhaustion, to where while they wouldn't give up things normally, now they were. And this leads us to the Umar fight, because my friend, the MMA Mechanic, and give him a subscribe on YouTube, he told me, yo, Umar's better than Merab. I can't see a world where Merab wins this. And I said, just trust. Merab is legitimately worse than him in every aspect of the game. But he's going to be so much that by round 3, he's going to start to break him with pressure and pace. And he's going to actually beat him by decision. And when you saw the fight, Umar was humiliating Merab for the first 2 rounds, for the first round and a half. But at the end of round 2, you saw the look on Umar's face. That was a man who was broken, who was trying to dig into his reserve tanks to make it to the rest of the fight. Merab wins rounds 4 and 5. And while Umar tried to have a nice championship medal moment where he dug deep in round 5, Merab just had more in the tank and was able to land the bigger strikes while still looking fresher, and won. In the Sean O'Malley rematch, we get to see the growth of Merab. This is a fight that was pure domination. There was never really a moment where Merab was in any level of threat whatsoever. And that's because he had the first fight where he noticed that if I just keep going forward and I try to get this dude to the ground, he's never getting back up. So Merab had his way. He won that fight dominantly. I'll give you guys that. This was a very dominant win. So the Petr Yan win, the first win, and the Sean O'Malley second win, very dominant performances. Everything else has been close and competitive that he's had to win through his absolute resilience and his ability to stay in a fight and continue to implement his game plan. Then we get to the Corey Sandhagen fight. And while a lot of people will call it a dominant win because of scorecards, I'm here to tell you, the entirety of round 1, Corey Sandhagen schooled Merab in every aspect of MMA. For the first 3 minutes of round 2, Corey Sandhagen was schooling Merab, but Merab, despite being completely and totally outstruck and failing almost every takedown he went for up until that point, lands a massive strike that actually rocks Corey Sandhagen, and he almost finishes him with ground and pound. Sandhagen's able to recover and make it to a round 3, which Merab wins dominantly. But in round 4, Corey starts to pick it right back up. and goes right back to schooling Merab on the feet. And then round 5, Merab wins because Corey just has nothing left in the tank. And that's what I mean. Corey is a better fighter than Merab in almost every aspect of the game. He's a better striker, he has better clinch work, he's a better grappler. But Merab can afford to shoot 30 takedowns a fight. Corey, who's known to have great cardio, couldn't even keep up with that. And by round 5 was looking human. He did everything he could to try to win that fight, and it just wasn't enough. And he slowed down like every normal human being does. But Merab's spirit is so unbreakable that he's able to press forward through all of it. And that leads us to his most recent fight in a loss to Piotr Jan. And this brings me back to the machine versus the unbreakable human spirit. The John Henry, if you will. Merab is the unbreakable human spirit, and Jan is the machine. Piotr Jan has this almost AI-like way, this robotic way of breaking down his opponents. Always having the answer, the right technique to perfectly counter your style. While Merab just refuses to give in, no matter how badly things are going. And while Piotr Jan won every single round of this fight, there was never a moment where Merab wasn't trying to win. He threw 458 total strikes. I think he threw 371 significant strikes. He shot 30 takedowns on top of that. He did everything in his power to try to win that fight. He was just out-techniqued by a cold, unfeeling, calculating machine. Merab showed all the heart in the world in this fight, even though he was completely and totally out-techniqued. He got folded in half 3 separate times to body kicks. He got rocked badly on the feet on 3 separate occasions, but it didn't break his spirit. Even though nothing was working, nothing went his way, he continued to go forward, continued to try to make something happen. And that is the resilience I'm talking about. No, nothing about that was dominant for Merab, but it was resilient. He always looked for a way to win, even when he was completely and totally outgunned. And Merab keeps that same energy in all of his fights. This is just a fight where it didn't work, because someone was able to outclass him and out-technique him for the entire 25 minutes of a fight. Merab, even though his name is the Machine, I think we should just start calling him Guts for the unbreakable spirit that he shows every time he goes out there. Every time he puts on those gloves and gets to the cage, he is truly unbreakable. And that is because he is the unbreakable human spirit. And we should start calling Piotr Jan the Machine, because he's so cold and unfeeling, so calculated, like a machine. But that's my TED Talk for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave a comment.